My love, there is one sentence, and when a man says it to you, it can completely change the way the relationship between you works. By the end of this talk, I will reveal exactly what that sentence is and why it has the power to turn a man who was simply staying around you into someone who becomes deeply focused and emotionally involved with you. But before we reach that point, you need to understand something very important that can completely change the way you look at relationships and the way you deal with them from this moment forward. I am going to speak to you directly, without making the truth sound softer than it really is. At my age, I do not have the time or the desire to dress up the truth just to make it easier to hear. Sometimes the truth needs to be said clearly, even when it feels uncomfortable. Here is your first practical lesson for today. If a man shows interest in you, but he never truly chooses you, then you should not choose him either. It really can be that simple. Keep that thought close to your heart. This is not a sign that you lack love or compassion. It is not coldness. It is emotional intelligence. And if you stay with me for a little longer, you will not only learn what men tend to say when they are genuinely interested in a woman, but you will also learn how to recognize, while it is happening, whether a man sees you as someone important in his life, or whether he simply sees you as another option he can return to whenever it is convenient for him. And before we go any further, if what I have said so far has connected with something inside you, leave a comment and tell me where you are watching from, whether you are in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, or somewhere else in the world. There are women everywhere who are becoming tired of accepting the smallest amount of attention and calling it love. And if you know a friend, sister, colleague, or someone close to you who needs to hear this message, share this video with her. What we are talking about today is not only about one woman. It is about women learning to take back their emotional strength and remember their own value. Let me tell you something that has become extremely clear to me after more than 40 years of working with people, listening to countless stories, watching relationships begin and end, and seeing people move through emotional highs and painful disappointments. Women are incredibly intelligent when it comes to solving problems, planning for the future, organizing their lives, and noticing small details that other people completely miss. They can read between the lines at work, understand complicated situations, and often notice things that others overlook. But when it comes to understanding the signals of a man they genuinely like, that intelligence can sometimes seem to disappear. Do you know why? Because something called confirmation bias can become active. In simple language, it means that you begin to notice the things that support what you already hope is true. When you like a man, your mind starts searching for even the smallest evidence that he likes you back. A message at 11 at night can suddenly feel like a romantic confession. One short glance can feel like a deep connection. A simple, "we'll talk later," can begin to sound like a promise about the future. A like on social media becomes meaningful. A short phone call becomes proof that he cannot stop thinking about you. My love, that is not always intuition. Sometimes it is self-deception wearing beautiful clothes. I am not telling you this because I want to discourage you from love. I am telling you this because I want you to wake up from the illusion and see what is actually happening in front of you. If you want healthy, mature relationships where you do not have to beg for attention, chase someone for basic communication, or repeatedly ask where you stand, then you need to understand an uncomfortable truth that very few people are willing to tell you. A man who is genuinely interested in you usually does not make you constantly guess. He does not keep you waiting for days simply because he feels like speaking to you only when he has nothing else to do. He does not appear one day and disappear the next like a shadow in the night. He does not give you just enough attention to keep you emotionally attached while giving you no real direction. A man who truly wants to build something with you becomes clearer with time. He becomes more consistent. His actions begin to match his words. He makes you feel chosen instead of making you feel grateful that he remembered you existed. And understand this carefully. This is not only romantic advice. Human behavior plays a major role here. When someone becomes emotionally invested in another person, motivation, reward, attachment, and emotional connection can influence the way that person behaves. A man who is seriously interested will generally find reasons to communicate with you, spend time with you, understand you, and create space for you in his life. He does not need you to remind him every day that you exist. He does not need to be begged to call you. He does not need endless hints before he makes an effort. His own desire to maintain the connection encourages him to move toward you. That is one of the clearest things you can observe. So if you constantly find yourself reminding him that you are there, always starting the conversations, always trying to keep the connection alive, always wondering when he will finally give you attention, then stop for a moment and look at the situation honestly. Ask yourself what would happen if you stopped doing all the work. Would he come toward you? Would he notice your absence? Would he make an effort to reconnect? Or would everything simply become silent? That answer can tell you more than hundreds of romantic words. And let me say something gently here. If a man is not genuinely interested, it does not necessarily mean that there is something wrong with you. It does not mean you are unattractive, boring, difficult, or unworthy of love. Sometimes a person simply does not have the same feelings you have. That hurts, but it is better to accept a painful truth than to spend months or even years trying to turn someone into the partner you wish they would become. You deserve more than being somebody's backup plan. You deserve more than being the person he calls only when he is lonely. You deserve more than being convenient. However, this does not mean you should become emotionally frozen and sit there waiting for men to fall at your feet. It is not about becoming arrogant. It is not about playing games. It is not about pretending you do not care. And it certainly is not about using manipulative tricks you found online to make someone obsessed with you. It is about something much deeper. It is about choosing yourself first. When you choose yourself, when you decide that your time, your energy, your dignity, and your self-respect are not things you will trade away for temporary attention, your entire approach to relationships begins to change. And I do not mean some mysterious energy or an abstract law of attraction. I mean something very practical. When you value yourself, you behave differently. You communicate differently. You set different boundaries. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing people who keep running away. You stop trying to prove that you are worthy of being loved. And that confidence becomes visible. Confidence, my dear, is one of the strongest forms of attraction there is. It is much more powerful than an expensive perfume, a revealing dress, a perfect hairstyle, or any carefully planned appearance. A man can often sense when a woman knows her worth. He can sense when she understands what she wants and also understands what she will not accept. And trust me, that can affect him in a very powerful way. I have seen this happen again and again. A woman comes to me completely heartbroken because she has been talking to a man for months, and then, without warning, he begins pulling away. Suddenly, he becomes distant. His messages become shorter. His calls become less frequent. He stops making plans. She begins questioning everything. What did I do wrong? Was I too available? Did I say something that pushed him away? Should I have acted differently? How could I have stopped him from leaving? She goes through every conversation in her mind, searching for the exact moment when everything supposedly went wrong. And then something changes. At some point, she becomes tired. Not just tired of him, but tired of abandoning herself. She finally stops chasing someone who does not appreciate her. She stops checking her phone every few minutes. She stops creating excuses for his behavior. She begins focusing on her own goals, her own work, her friendships, her interests, her health, her peace, and her future. And very often that same man suddenly comes back. But here is the surprising part. By that time, she may no longer want him. Why? Because in letting him go, she discovered something much more valuable than getting his attention. She discovered herself again. She remembered who she was before she started waiting for his messages. She remembered the woman who had dreams before his behavior became the center of her emotional world. She remembered that her life was never supposed to depend on whether one man decided to stay. That is real transformation. It is not about successfully getting a man to chase you. It is about becoming a woman who no longer accepts people who refuse to meet her with the same level of honesty, effort, and respect. Once you reach that point, everything changes. But now let us return to the practical side, because I know what you may be thinking. Yes, that sounds good, but I want to know what men actually say. What do they do? How do they behave when their interest is real? That is exactly what we are going to look at now, because words can be confusing when you listen to them alone. A man can say beautiful things and still give you very little. Another man may not use dramatic romantic language, but his actions can reveal a much stronger level of interest. That is why you have to look at the whole pattern. And if what you have heard so far has opened your eyes even a little, support the video by giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. We share honest and direct conversations like this regularly, and there is much more that can help you understand relationships without losing yourself inside them. So what does a man say when he is truly interested? Here is one of the first clues, and it is often ignored. A man who is genuinely interested tends to speak about the future in a way that naturally includes you. Notice the difference. He is not necessarily making huge promises. He is not telling you that you are his soulmate after 3 conversations. He is not promising you a perfect life that he has no ability to create. Instead, he begins naturally including you in his plans. He talks about things he would like to do with you. He may say, "Next weekend, when we go there, we could try that restaurant." He may say, "I want you to meet this person." He may say, "The next time we are in that area, I'll show you this place." These statements may sound small, but they are meaningful, because they reveal that he is imagining your presence beyond the immediate moment. He is not only enjoying today's conversation, he is mentally creating another moment where you are still part of his life. And that is important. A man who is genuinely interested does not necessarily rush into grand declarations. Often, real interest develops through small and consistent actions. He remembers details you told him. He asks about something important that happened in your life. He follows up. He notices when your mood changes. He wants to understand you instead of simply impressing you. He makes plans instead of constantly saying, "We'll see." There is a natural balance, and that balance matters, because you should never have to perform emotional gymnastics just to keep someone's interest alive. You should not have to become a completely different woman to make a man choose you. You should not have to become less intelligent, less expressive, less successful, less emotional, or less independent because you are afraid that your real personality will make him leave. The right connection should allow you to become more yourself, not less. Now, let me bring you back to the sentence I promised at the beginning. The sentence is simple, but its meaning becomes powerful when it is supported by consistent action. A man who is truly interested may eventually say something like, "I want to make this work with you." Think carefully about those words. I want to make this work with you. Not, "I don't know." Not, "Let's just see what happens." Not, "Why do we need labels?" Not, "I like you, but I don't know what I want." Not, "Maybe someday." The important part is not simply the sentence itself. The important part is the intention behind it. When a man tells you that he wants to make something work with you, he is communicating that he sees the relationship as something worth effort. And effort is where real interest becomes visible. Because anyone can say, "I miss you." Anyone can say, "You're beautiful." Anyone can say, "I like talking to you." But when someone says, "I want to make this work," and then actually changes behavior, makes time, communicates clearly, solves problems, and remains present when things become difficult, that is when the words begin to carry real weight. Remember this, my love. Do not fall in love with potential. Do not build an entire future around a man's occasional attention. Do not take one beautiful sentence and ignore 10 confusing actions. Listen to the words, but watch the pattern. The pattern is where the truth usually lives. A man can tell you that you mean everything to him, but if he repeatedly disappears, refuses to communicate, avoids commitment, and only returns when he wants something, then his behavior is giving you information. Do not ignore that information simply because his words are beautiful. You are not asking for too much when you want consistency. You are not being needy because you want clarity. You are not demanding when you expect respect. You are not difficult because you want someone whose actions match his words. These are basic parts of a healthy connection. And if someone cannot give them to you, that does not mean you need to lower your standards. It may simply mean that person is not capable of giving you the kind of relationship you want. There is another important sign you should watch for. A genuinely interested man does not only want access to your attention, he wants to know you as a person. There is a difference between a man who wants your attention and a man who values you. A man who only wants attention asks what you are wearing, where you are, or whether you are free tonight. A man who is emotionally interested may also ask what you think, what you want, what you are working toward, what makes you happy, what worries you, and what kind of life you want to create. He becomes curious about your inner world. That curiosity matters, because attraction may bring someone toward you, but genuine interest makes them want to understand you. And when a man begins to understand you, he also begins to see the real person behind the appearance. He sees your fears. He sees your strengths. He sees your imperfections. He sees the parts of you that are not designed for social media. And if his interest remains steady, even after seeing the real you, that tells you much more than physical attraction ever could. So do not rush. Let time reveal character. Let consistency reveal intention. Let actions reveal seriousness. You do not have to force an answer. You do not have to interrogate someone into loving you. You do not have to chase certainty from someone who benefits from keeping you confused. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is step back and observe. Give the other person enough space to show you what they actually want. If he wants to communicate, he will communicate. If he wants to see you, he will make room. If he wants to build something, he will participate in building it. And if he does not, you will eventually have your answer without having to destroy your peace trying to get it. My love, the goal is not to make a man obsessed with you. The goal is to recognize a man who is emotionally available, genuinely interested, and willing to build something real. That is a completely different goal. You do not need someone who is temporarily fascinated by you. You need someone who can remain present after the excitement becomes normal life. You need someone who can communicate when there is disagreement. Someone who can apologize when he is wrong. Someone who can listen. Someone who can make plans. Someone who can respect your boundaries. Someone who does not make you constantly question whether you are wanted. And most importantly, someone whose actions allow you to feel emotionally safe instead of constantly anxious. Because love should not require you to spend every day decoding someone's behavior. If you are always asking yourself, "Does he like me? Why did he take so long to answer? Why did he suddenly become distant? Why does he act interested one day and cold the next? Why am I always the one reaching out?" Then something important is already happening. You are spending more energy analyzing the relationship than actually enjoying it. Healthy interest should not feel like a permanent investigation. There may still be uncertainty in the beginning. Nobody can know everything immediately. But as time passes, clarity should generally increase. Confusion should not become the foundation of the relationship. And if confusion continues for months, do not call it mystery. Sometimes confusion is simply information. You deserve a connection where you can breathe. A connection where you do not have to constantly calculate your responses. A connection where you can say what you feel without fearing that honesty will make the other person disappear. A connection where effort comes from both sides. A connection where you are not begging someone to recognize your value. So remember the lesson from the beginning. If a man shows interest but never truly chooses you, do not keep choosing him simply because you hope one day he will change. Choose yourself. Protect your time. Protect your emotional energy. Keep living your life. And if a man genuinely wants to be part of that life, let him show you. Do not force him. Do not chase him. Do not manipulate him. Give him the opportunity to reveal his intentions through his actions. Because the most powerful position you can have in love is not the position of a woman desperately trying to be chosen. It is the position of a woman who knows she can walk away from what does not respect her. And when you truly understand that, relationships become much easier to read. You stop asking, "How can I make him love me?" You begin asking, "Does the way he loves fit the kind of relationship I want?" That is a much healthier question, and it changes everything. So when that man says, "I want to make this work with you," listen carefully. Do not only listen to the sentence, watch what comes after it. Does he make an effort? Does he communicate? Does he show up? Does he keep his promises? Does he make space for you? Does he treat your feelings with respect? Does he continue choosing you even when there is no excitement, no chase, and no need to impress you? If the answer is yes, then those words may have real meaning. But if the words are beautiful and the behavior remains empty, believe the behavior. Your heart deserves honesty. Your time deserves respect. Your love deserves reciprocity. And you deserve a relationship where you are not constantly wondering whether you matter. Never forget that. You are not asking for the impossible when you ask to be chosen clearly. You are simply asking for the kind of love that does not require you to abandon yourself in order to keep another person. And once you understand that, you will never look at relationships in exactly the same way again.